Okay, so this is how you build a house to sell in 7 easy steps. I'm just kidding, it's not that easy, but I'm going to explain to you guys like the timeline and how it works and like how we get to this point. And this is going to assume that you've never done this before. You don't have a business, you don't have connections, you don't have anything like that. So the very first thing that you're going to want to do, and anybody can do this at any point. So you don't have to wait until you are wanting to start a business or anything like this. The sooner you can get an LLC made, the better that's going to look for banks and lenders and stuff like that. So the older your LLC is whenever you start a business, the better it looks. Now, it's not really going to look great. The biggest difference is when you have money flowing through your business bank accounts. It's not necessarily the age of the company, but the age of the company does help. It definitely doesn't hurt. So the very first thing you want to do is you want to open up an LLC and an EIN number. And we'll get to a part of that in later when we talk about business credit. But it's very important to set that up properly so that you don't kind of screw yourself when you go try to get business credit. Because if you open up a business business LLC with a name that ties your company to a high risk industry, then you're going to have issues getting business credit. So you're going to have to be careful with that. And then once you have an LLC and your EIN number made, then you want to open up a bank account at whatever bank that you're going to be wanting to use or get business credit at in the future. So opening that up and then put some money in there. And if you can figure out a way to like spend money out of there and put money in there, spend money out of there, that's going to show the bank that in and of itself is what builds kind of business credit. I don't want to go all into all of that, but business credit, like your credit score for your business, is not the same. It doesn't work the same as your personal credit score. It's not a number. It's just how the bank sees you, essentially. So if they see that there's money going through, then they say, okay, this is a legitimate business. They do, they've got money flowing through. They got cash flow, and so that kind of sets you up for better lending options in the future. So that's step one. Step two is the setup stage. So this is kind of where you're going to go out and you're going to look for trades and vendors and start writing down, framer. Basically, you have an Excel spreadsheet or just save them in your phone. Go find some framers, some plumbers, some roofers, some things like that. And it's very important where you find these guys. So if you're going on Facebook and you're saying, hey, I need a framer, that is the worst way to find trades. A lot of those guys don't have insurance. A lot of those guys don't understand the spec home building game, which means like, hey, we need to go fast. We need to get this done. So finding these trades that are essentially already vetted by other builders is how you want to find these trades. That's essential. So, and then the next thing is you want to start working on your organization and contracts. And this can all be done within this whole thing. This isn't really like in order under step two, but organization and contracts. So building a home there's a lot of files involved, and owning a business is a lot of files involved. You got to keep up with contract, with W-9s. You got to keep up with all your plans, different folders for your vendors, for you, for the HOA, for all these things. And so you want to have an organized file system that you can quickly access and people can quickly access files. So that way, like when tax time comes and things like that, you're able to access those files quickly. Contracts, so contracts for your trades, your vendors, your partnerships, your lenders, all these things, you want to start working on those. You can use AI. Obviously, I have to recommend that you use a lawyer for these kinds of things, unless you have some other contracts you can copy, essentially. And then networking. So this is going to be very, very important, especially if you have zero experience building homes. Now, if you've flipped homes, that's going to help you. If you've built homes for a builder, that's going to help you. But if you have absolutely zero experience as far as owning a project where you built a home and you sold it, or you flipped a home or anything like that, networking is going to be critical because it's going to be critical for getting pre-approval from a construction loan lender, because construction loan lenders require, 99% of them require some type of experience before they'll lend you money. So if you just come in there and say, I've never built a home before, I'm going to try this all by myself, from the get-go, they're going to say no, essentially. So what you have to do is you have to partner with experience for your first build. And so that's where networking comes in, because if you get like to, stage 3 or 4, and you've not networked and made friends with these other builders or these other guys with experience, and basically you go to real estate events, and you go to building events, and you go to all these expos and things like that. Join a networking group in your area, and that's kind of how or if you might know somebody, just reach out to them, take them to lunch, and be their friend first before you start asking them to partner with you, because you want leverage, and you want to structure it in a way where you're still making the most amount of money possible. So realistically, your first 1 or 2 projects are going to have to be partnered with somebody with experience before you can go out on your own and do it all by yourself. And what I mean by partnering with experience, you don't necessarily have to partner like half and half, and then they build the home or anything like that. I mean, you can still be in full control. The lender, on the lender side, just needs to see that there's somebody attached to this deal that's got experience, right? And so that's where the networking comes in. That's where that's important, and that's what you're going to need for your pre-approval from a lender. And so this is kind of what, like, you want to start working on this. Now, a lot of lenders are going to want you to already have a lot and plans and stuff like that to get approved. But basically, you need to be approved as a builder, not necessarily the lot itself, but your company, your LLC, along with your partner, needs to be approved together to build a new construction home. So step 3 is going to be market research. And honestly, you can be doing this stuff like right now or yesterday. But market research is where you're essentially going into the MLS, and you're looking at, like, let's say, for instance, you want to sell a home for $550,000. You want to build a home that's going to sell for that. So what you start doing is you start looking at, you start looking at homes that have sold in the last year for that price, and you start looking for a pocket of those. And then you open up another tab and look in that same area and look for lots for sale. And then you just kind of see what those lots are going for. If you're trying to sell a home for $550,000 and the lots are going for $300,000, obviously that's way too much. You need to be looking at like $100K or less for lots that are, on homes that are selling for that price point. And so when you're doing that, you want to be running numbers. I have a profit calculator that I use that I made that I give to all the people in our program, but essentially, like, this is based on a 2,600 square foot home at $110 a square foot. The lot was about $90K. The build was about $286,000. So all in, he's at $376,000. And so these are the numbers you want to look in. So if you see a lot for $90K and you go, okay, well, if it's $110 a square foot where I live to build a house, then this is what I'm looking at for the build cost. This is what I'm looking at total. So if I sell it for $550,000, I make $174,000. No, you don't. That's your gross profit. You do not make that. You usually make about half of this number, typically. Maybe a little bit more, but usually half. In this case, the realtor is going to be 6%, because you're going to have to pay the seller. You're going to have to pay your realtor as well as the buyer's realtor. So that's $33,000 on $550K. The closing cost is going to be about 1.5% to 2%. So you're looking at $9,000 to $10,000 there. And then your bank fees is going to be around 13% with your interest rate as well as your origination fees. If you go a full 12 months, then you're looking at about $37,000. So all in, all your fees end up being about $79,000. So really what you're making, you're not making $174,000, you're making $95,000. And this is a pretty, on a $550,000 home, I would expect to make anywhere from $75,000 to $100,000 on a home like that. So, so that's what that looks like. So, that's what you're doing. You're kind of looking at lots, and whenever you start like getting, like, hey, I think I got this figured out. I think there's some potential in this area. That's when I would start kind of looking at getting into business credit. Now, getting business credit usually takes about 30 to 60 days. You can do this yourself. I recommend you have a professional help you if you don't know anything about business credit or getting business credit cards. So what this is called is like business credit stacking. And you may have heard of it. There's a lot of internet gurus that actually probably don't know what they're doing, a lot of them. But basically what you do is you credit stack. And essentially what that is you go to one bank and you apply for a business credit card in a very strategic way that has 0% interest for 12 months. And then once you get approved for that one, you go to the next one. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's essentially what you do. But you got to do it in a very strategic way. You don't just go online and apply for a business credit card, or when you open up your bank account, you just apply right then. That's not how you do it. There's a very specific way to do it. Friends, like when I got my business credit, I got $166,000. I did it myself. I paid a company a lot of money to teach me how to do it myself. But in the end, it worked out great. So then then we're like, okay, now we got this money coming. We know how much money we have to play with. And the reason why we want this money is because in order to get the loan, the construction loan for the $376,000, we're going to need about 20% down, right? So when we need about 20% down. So let's say, for instance, we needed $75,000 down to get the construction loan. Well, if you got $166,000 or $150,000 in business credit, obviously you can just liquidate that 75K, put that in, and then you've got the rest of the money to float. I'm not going to get into how construction loans and construction draws work in this video, but essentially you don't if you need $75,000 for the down payment, what you really want to have inside of your account is probably about 115 to 120K, because you need the money to put down, right? If this is all you have in your account and you go to close on that lot, then you have $0 to your name. You got $0 in your business account and you can't pay for anything. And the bank's not going to give you your first draw until some work is done. Either the land is cleared or the slab is poured. So you do need some type of money to float the house in between draws, if that makes sense. Okay, so this is kind of where you're like, okay, I'm going to find a lot. We're going to lock down. We're going to lock in and find a lot. And then when we've found a lot that we're going to take, we kind of want to have an understanding of what kind of plans we're going to have. So you want to get some preliminary plans. You don't need the full set. You just need like a layout, just understanding, okay, what kind of home is going to sell well in this neighborhood, right? And I'm not going to go all that. This in the program, like each one of these is a module that's like hours and hours and hours and hours long. So there's a lot more to it than what I'm saying. This is just kind of a broad overview of how it works. So once you've got that, you know what lot you're going to get, then you need to work on stage 4, which is getting to closing on the construction loan and the lot. So you want to put in the offer in on the lot. Once that gets accepted, the lender is going to require an appraisal. So the appraiser is going to go out there. You're going to pay $500 to $1,000 for an appraisal. The appraiser is going to go out there and he's going to look at the set of plans that you got, the preliminary set. You usually don't have to have the full set, but you just need to have the front elevation, like what the front's going to look like, as well as the floor plan itself. And then, so once you have that and the appraisal looks good, as long as that appraisal comes back higher than $550,000, so they would probably want the appraisal to come back like right around 550K on this price point, right? So as long as the appraisal comes back at that, you're going to be approved at that point, as long as you're pre-approved as a builder to begin with. And then that's when you lock in and say, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and start paying for these plans, get the final plans done. You may have paid for preliminary plans, like a little bit of money, but now we got to pay for the full set of plans and get those sent to engineering ASAP and start getting that going. The lender is going to require a bunch of things that you're going to have to send to them. They're going to ask you for your driver's license. They're going to ask you for your, where you were last night, like all these things. So you're going to send all the documents that the lender requires to them. They're going to require you to get general liability insurance and builder's risk insurance. So you're going to need insurance for the company itself, and you're going to need insurance for the construction itself. And so you're going to, you'll have to have that. And then at the same time, you're going to be, if the seller already has a survey, great. You can just call that survey company, send them the plans, and then they can create your plot plan. If not, if the seller does not have a survey, call your survey company, get them out there to do the survey. And then once that survey is done, then you can send them the plans, and then they can basically set the, and your architect can probably do this too, but you want to get it done professionally by the survey company afterwards. But basically you just want to make sure that the plan is going to fit on that lot. So you're going to working with your architect whenever you're kind of in this spot right here, the prelim plans. He probably already kind of put the house on the lot to make sure it's going to fit, right? So anyway, so you get the plot plan, which is basically just a sheet of paper that shows the layout of the lot with the house on it, like a overview of it, right? So it'll look like, you know, this is the lot, and then it'll say, okay, here's the house, and then, you know, here's the driveway going to the street, and then it'll have, you know, numbers here showing you how far away it is from all the lines. It'll have the building line, you know, you have to build 20 feet from the road, all that stuff. This is kind of what a plot plan would look like. And then once, you know, and this part right here, honestly, can get pretty stressful. And I want to actually back up to step 2. This part right here, pre-approval from lender, networking. A lot of people get stuck in this part right here, even people in our program. This is probably one of the longest, grueling sections of the thing, and some people get burnt out here. Some people, you know, they get told no by a couple of lenders, and they say, "Oh, I can't do it." I got told no hundreds and hundreds of times before I was able to do it, and I got it figured out. So you can do this. Anybody can do this. You just have to push through and get it done. Okay, so I don't want to make this video and make it sound like, oh, this is so easy. It is once you've done it twice, right? Once you've done it once and done it another time, it starts getting really easy. This part just kind of like blows by. And then really only thing you got to worry about is, you know, making sure you got a good deal and then moving forward. So, but this part right here is also a little bit stressful because you're sending all this stuff in, you're rushing to get plans, you're rushing to get engineering, all this stuff. Now, once you close, typically you can't apply for permits depending on your city or municipality or HOA. You can't get permits until you own the lot, right? So once you own the lot, then you start applying for city and county permits. There are companies that can do this for you. You can pay them to do it for you, but usually you can just call the local permit department and just say, hey, what do you guys require? What do you guys need? So you usually fill out an application and then you send them the plans and pay a fee, and then they check it out and see if you approved or not. Same thing with the HOA. In my experience, HOAs are more, well, it could go either way. Sometimes HOAs are super easy. In my experience, this is actually where I'm at right now in the current home I'm building right now. I'm waiting on, I already have my county permit. I already got that. I don't have HOA approval, and I don't think I'm going to get that for another 3 weeks. So literally I'm just sitting here paying interest on this construction loan for just waiting on these guys. So this part, you know, is usually about a 2 week to a month and a half type of deal where you're kind of just sitting there waiting, right? And then we get to step 6. This is the fun part. This is my favorite part. I like this better than I like selling the house and making the money, almost. I don't know. I like making the money. But you build the house. I'm not going to go into building a home in here because that's one of the longest modules in our whole program, and it's hours and hours long, right? So, but basically you want to get your utilities in place. Then you lot prep, you get your slab poured, you frame, roof, siding, and then mechanicals. So you're going to put your, AC, electrical, and plumbing, insulation and sheetrock, paint, trim, cabinets. Then you get your flooring in. At the same time, you're working on the exterior, and at the very end, you're going to go through and you're going to make a list. You're going to bring all your picky friends with you, and you guys are all going to write down all the crap that's wrong in the house, and then you're going to call all these trades back to have them come fix that, and then everything's going to look beautiful. And then at any point in here, you can list the home for sale. You can list it here at permit stage if you wanted to. I prefer to list it around cabinets because at that point, if it does sell, everything else is already ordered and nothing can be changed. So it's an easy no to like, so if somebody buys the home and they say, hey, I want to change the flooring. No, it's already ordered. Sorry. But if you sell it up here, then essentially you're building a custom home for somebody. And they're going to be like, oh, can we change the paint? Can we change the installation type? Can we, and you lose a lot of control sometimes. So I don't like this home. My real estate agent really wants, because the home I'm building now is like a $2 million home. So she really wants to list it like right now. I'm going to try to hold off as long as I can. And then you sell the home, you make your money, and then you do it again. So this was really quick video on what the process looks like from not knowing anything to building and selling your first home. If you guys have any questions about this, we have a free Discord. I'm trying to think how to access that. So if you message me on Instagram for the Discord, or we have a free program too. So like we have what's called Money Launchpad that really dives into this right here. I mean, it's like hours and hours of just this, okay? And a little bit of this, right? And so that's called Money Launchpad. The link for the Discord is inside that those course lessons. But then, you know, if you want access to the full thing, obviously we do. I basically just teach people how to do what I do, right? So how to do this when they're going through the process. You know, if they have any questions, they can reach out to me 24/7. Essentially, I'm not up 24/7. I'm not going to respond to you at 2 o'clock in the morning, but you can ask me on our Discord builder chat. But that's a paid program. So, but yeah, this is it. But if you guys have any questions, reach out to me on Instagram, get access to the Discord. If you reach out to me on Instagram, because I think this is going up on YouTube, if you reach out to me on Instagram, chances are that's not going to be me talking to you. I have an assistant. Sometimes there's a freaking AI in there. Just tell my AI or my assistant that you want access to the free Money Launchpad, and then get access to that. It'll send you the link for that, and then inside there you'll get access to the Discord. So log into the Discord. If you got any questions, ask it in there. I'm probably not going to read I'll read the comments on my YouTube, but not very often. I'm usually either on Instagram or I'm mainly on Discord. That is the best way to reach me directly. So, but yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys.